What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, closet swing traders? Hope you guys had a happy Memorial Day. I feel like that's counterintuitive. I feel like I don't know. I feel weird every time I say Happy Memorial Day, but appreciate anybody who serviced and hope you guys had a great time hanging out with your family, having a 3-day weekend, hanging out with friends, family, whatever you guys did went away, but we're back and market is gapping up. We got Albert in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning to Bill, Cindy, Jay, Jeff, Joe. JT in the house. Good morning, Kevin, Marius, Mike. We got Shane rocking with us. Good morning to Tim. Tim Thurman. Good morning. We got Win in the house. All my peeps out in YouTube land. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. And if you guys have any tickers you want to take a look at, make sure you guys do so. Throw those into the chat, and we will pull those up together. But we got the SPY gapping up a little bit. Albert's got QCOM already. I love it. We got SPY with a little bit of a gap up into some resistance. So we're still on the SPY, living in this just Thursday. I got to recalculate all my days in my head, but this is the Thursday. Good gap up, nice bearish engulfing candle. So that still stays. Friday, we had an inside day. We are at least above Friday's VPOC. So look for some kind of support around 529.44. And then the bigger resistance that we want to start to try to break out is 530.94. So we got a little bit of room, kind of just retesting. We almost we didn't quite get there on Friday, but that 2-day volume shelf is exactly where we retested, rejected that, and we're trying a second attempt into it. So we might. It's going to be a strong one, right around we'll call it 530.23. This would be our second attempt into it, so maybe the Bulls got some more gas in the tank, and that takes us to 530.94. So we'll see. Otherwise, a little bit to the chop. I think we still have a little bullish edge, but this is a looming bearish engulfing candle still on the SPY. Let's take a look at the Qs. Clarice is in the house. Good morning to Scintilla as well. Oof. We got wins already. We'll get to that. We'll get to that Nvidia in a second. Win. We got to bring you up on that one. We got to bring you up on that one. Qs looking a little bit better, at least at open. We still got 26 minutes to that morning bell, so we'll see where we do actually open on this one. But Friday's VPOC 458.28, and then the big one from Thursday, and this is the one we really got to see where we open before 58.63. So if we are opening above it, we did break through that at one point on Friday. We obviously closed below it, but if we can stay above that, the next target, the only other thing I got on my screen is 460.55, and then again we survived one more big volume bearish engulfing candle, although this one not as really engulfing as the SPY. So the SPY is a little bit more dominant, which makes sense as the whole news is Nvidia. And we actually have some Apple news today too. So Apple's getting a nice little lift, but we got TLT just kind of hanging out again in that range, right around the lower level of support. We got some moving averages coming in. So nothing too crazy on TLT. I think there's a lot of bond auctions today. When I was looking before, I don't know if they were all today, but they're starting to sell the 7s. I think the 10-year, the 2-year. So a lot of the longer term bonds either today or sometime in this week, they're just taking those pre-orders on it. So we will see. All right, let's go to Nvidia. So Nvidia, the day that they reported, no, not bond auctions. that's a whole different marketplace. Here's where I'll give you some credit, Win, and we'll see. There's still time. We're not there yet. But the day Nvidia came out with earnings, or the next day after they opened live trading day, Win's like, Nvidia's going to 1,400, and I'm like, yeah, but they got a stock split, so I don't think we actually hit it. June 7th is Nvidia's stock split day. We might, I don't know, Win. We might get there before. How many more days do we got left? Yeah, we got like 2 weeks. It does $50 a day on before the market even opens. So good little gap up here. Probably again, probably a little overextended. We saw it on Tesla. We saw it on what was it, even Celsius? Is that the energy drink name Celsius? We've seen it on that. We've seen it on a few ones where you do get this run up into the split, and then upon the split, you get that little bit of a sell off, which makes sense if you're in this thing and it's a heavy price stock right now. Uh, if you're in on this stock, you don't really like. You're like, hey, I like it. All it does is go higher, but I do want to get some of that money to safety and then have some rebuy spots, things like that. So a lot of times, what happens on the split, and we'll see if it plays out like this, but usually once we get that split that comes in, and this is a 10-to-1 split. So if you have 100 shares of Nvidia, you're sitting there with 1,000 shares of Nvidia, right? On that day. You could take 500 shares off the table, right? So you got 500 of those shares in your pocket. You've locked in some serious gains. You still have more shares than you had before for kind of the next run up. So when we get that split, we probably see that sell off, but we have been seeing that run up into the split ahead of time. Even though the valuation of the company doesn't change on the split, there is a little psychological end to that as well. So we'll see what happens on that one. Julie's in the house. Good morning to you. Corey's as well. Good morning. But we'll see. But yeah, nice little gap on this one. This is a retest gap. It is a monster move. I don't want to fade this one. Typically, I'm looking at a faded. We did hit 1100. I think we hit 1105 pre-market. Let's see. Where's the high coming in on this one? If you do want to get some decent resistance on it, at least where we sold off last time, it's not a strong one, but yeah, somewhere around this 1105, we start breaking that, we might get that extra momentum. We are still above pretty much most moving averages, so it's got a lot of support in it. I think we probably still get by the dips into earnings. But if I'm looking at a stock like this, just run massively, we have two days of green candles. My thought would be to go fade it. I'm probably not. I'm probably not going to be that guy. I don't know. AAPL. So we got a little bit of news on Apple. So again, a lot of Chinese, a lot of the news on Apple for this dip was a lot of like, hey, China is struggling and they're not selling as many sales or as many iPhones in China as they were doing previously. I think Apple did lower the price on some of the iPhones in China. And I think they came out with like a 40 something, 41, 48% increase on sales. I love these articles. If you invested $1,000 in Apple, if you invested $1,000 in Enron, you don't ever see that article. I don't know what's going on with this one on Tuesday. Let's see if I can find that percentage. 52%. There you go. iPhone sales in China increased by 52% year on year in April. So that puts a little of that argument. Again, they did have the lower price, so I'm assuming those got a little bit less of a margin. But the fact that they are still selling probably took the market a little bit, or not the market, but I guess the market and Apple investors a little bit by surprise. That was a heck of a down day we had again on Thursday. We just hung out inside day, and now you're opening above that last little pivot. I have that VPOC sitting somewhere around 192.49. The next one up from here, and we'll pull up the pre-market too, but we got 195.11, so we still got a little bit of room on that one. I don't know if we can break through that today, but if we do, the next spot I have is somewhere up to this 197, and we're just knocking at the 200. And and then Apple, all of a sudden, we talk new all-time highs on Apple. We did get pretty far. Yep. So we got up to this 194.81 zone. So we'll see. Let me just go back to the daily real quick. It's from Friday, it's a retest gap. Again, that's more of a inside day. Probably closing close at 618 retracement. Probably about 50% of that entire drop, and we're above it. So I wouldn't mind going bullish on Apple today. Let's get that one a little bit higher on the list. The other one we could look at is GameStop too. So GameStop's gonna be another wild one, like it always is. But they got a pop on Friday, some kind of stock settlement news. I'm not 100% sure what the news was, but the market liked it. So this one's going to get interesting because this stock, I see this on any stock, and I'm like, okay, let's see if we get that high wave candle, slight little pullback. We probably have some people holding some bags on GameStop though, so I'm not sure if there's going to be an opportunity to sell, get out. Otherwise, if it's not, and this is going to act as a decent, again from Friday, it is a retest gap. So see if we get a tiny pullback at open, something like that. But if we get any bullish move out of this, the next target I have is 29.30. So there's a lot of room in GameStop. Highly manipulated, highly manipulated stock. So be careful on that one. But this is a decent one to keep on the watch list for me as well. And we'll see if this one kind of plays out. But the fact that we are now opening again, pretty nasty little Thursday. We got fairly low 1785 down on probably a little lower than that on Friday. Wasn't looking good, but then we had the after hour pop. It has held the entire Friday, the entire pre-market so far today. And there is not a lot holding this thing back till about 29.30. So some room on that one in a bullish direction. If it wasn't so highly manipulated, I guess. DraftKings would be the other big one. So DraftKings in the news. Illinois. Increase. They are. I don't know if I've seen anything like this before in any other industry. Maybe I don't know. Maybe when the tobacco industry was getting legalized and the alcohol industry was getting legalized, maybe there was some of this. But again, states, if they're saying, hey, yeah, we're gonna make you legal, you can sports gamble, that's fine. They're okay, they're gonna charge higher taxes, but they actually passed a bill, I think it was this morning, where it depends on how much money the company makes that increases your tax revenue, like how much you got to pay in taxes. So I think with this one, DraftKings is like 40% taxable. And now the question is, does other states kind of follow? I don't think this is a big, like it's not good for DraftKings. It also is giving a little edge to some of the smaller players, I think, in the industry. But what's interesting is there's still, even with that price, that tax rate hike for DraftKings, that's still only the second highest state. You still have New York charging more on taxes. So in a long run, do I think it matters as much? No, and I think there's still some dust to settle in terms of where the actual tax rates settle and how they process this. Big question for the bears. If you're bearish, you're kind of thinking, okay, maybe this is some kind of chain reaction and we start to see other states do something similar to it, because states they get a little greedy sometimes and they want their cut. But this is and we, as the market had some decent strength for most of the last few days, DraftKings was kind of selling off. So kind of wondering if this was the sell the rumor and then we buy the news. This is a retest gap. You have the 200 right below you too. So just in terms of news, like how much was this expected, and now you kind of got that payoff for the Bears, and then this thing ends up becoming some kind of a bounce play today. So we'll see. But I'll be watching this one for some kind of high wave with the. I don't think I have enough room to the downside with that 200 right there, so I don't think I'd want to go short it. But if we could get some kind of initial drop, sell off, panic move, high wave candle, we could take a break. We do have targets on this one up to about $40.56. So could be another one to watch as well. Let's see. I saw QCOM. QCOM, we got a little bit of a gap up. Yeah, they've been strong. I don't see what really stops them from being strong at open today. Again, I think longer term, QCOM probably higher from here. Do I want to invest in this level? Not until we get some kind of, like, I'm talking long-term investment. Probably would need some kind of a pullback on this one. At today's open, it's going to depend, I think, a lot on how Nvidia acts. They're doing a lot of the cooling systems for Nvidia. I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily they're building out like the data centers for them. So uh I do think this will continue with Nvidia. So I think there's still some strength on this one. Probably a fade at open, but we are gapping, I think, to all-time highs, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So all-time high gap, kind of in no man's land. I don't think I'd want to be the buyer here, but pullbacks, longer term case, I do think this would be an interesting buy the dip opportunity. Just I don't think today at open. So if you're looking at this one, I hate to get in the way of the Bulls. Really hate to, but that should be more of a fade, I think. Let's see. In phase. ENPH. Let's see. We got in phase. It's a nice little gap. First Solar had a good week. I mean, they also had a good week last week too. Let's look at the weekly candle on this one. The weekly candle kind of worries me from continuing to go long. The daily says we could probably have a little bit more room in it. But we do have a moving average that's sitting somewhere around 130.57. This is also a retest gap from last week as well. And we're kind of in this down, well, not downtrend, but little, I guess, pennant pattern on a weekly. So we'd have to look at something like this. Maybe we get this fade into here and then we take off if we're going to. But First Solar had a slightly better week. Let's go back to that daily. And this might still be a little catch-up type play. Yeah, you got to watch for resistance on this one. Somewhere around 130.62. If we could break that, we should have some room. 135.65. But I think this one probably pulls back at open as well. At least that's what I would be looking for. Some kind of a pullback, maybe into 127.45. If it can't hold there, probably into. I don't really want to get below that 200, but the next spot for me would be about 124.67. So, decent little momentum at open, some continuation from last week. But I'm wondering if people want to take some profits today after holding for 3 days. We'll keep that on the list too. Yeah, look at that triangle. Yeah, I agree. That is some built up momentum for some future activity, I think. Could get interesting to keep on the watch list. We got ANET. Also retest gap. Still looking at that pretty beautiful hammer. We are well above that at this point. This would be a good high wave too. So this one again, I would expect some kind of pullback at open. I just don't think I want to see a big pullback. So this would be a good high wave contender. 309.43. See if that level could hold. If it doesn't, the next spot you are looking for more of a full-on retest, 307.34. Otherwise, we are above those little what could have been resistance. So that should be support. Next stop on this one to a bullish direction, we got about 314.37. So any type of pullback on this one, providing that it can hold this we'll call it 309. But if we could hold 309, that should be decent for the Bulls. We get this one a little bit higher. We were watching this one on Friday. The open was okay. The close was much better. And you're getting that follow through today. PayPal. PayPal, a little bit of a gap up. Interesting area down here. I did buy some more. I was trying to think if I actually bought them or not, but I did buy some more calls down here. I think it was either Thursday or Friday. I forget which day it was, but somewhere down in this 62 range is just my buy spot for some calls. So I got some more 67.50s, and we'll see if we can get some kind of rally. I don't know about the continuation on this one today, though. I'm looking at the 200 sitting at 63.93, and then I got a big volume zone somewhere around 63.37. So we're very, very close to that. This would be a gap and go, though, and then we have a bunch of different volume areas, somewhere around, we'll call it $64, but 63.97. So somewhere around there should give us a little bit of resistance. Whether it's strong enough to break through that or not, I don't know, but I'm going to need it to break through first. Otherwise, potential decent start. Wave count wise on this down move, I don't know if I could really make a case for any of it, because this one is longer than this one. So I can't go. That's a 1. This is a 2, and then this 3 would be way too short. And then even that, we'd have to see some kind of 4-5. But decent move. You probably have some bears trapped on this one, thinking this one's heading down to the 58 zone again. But that's a lot of resistance that we're facing on that one. So I'm a little concerned with the upside until we start breaking out of probably that 200. I think we got to get above that 200 again. on that one. Yeah, so Airbnb was gapping, had a nice little gap today too. I think it was a retest, but let me see. Yeah, so you have a retest from Friday. Interesting enough, this does have a 3-bar reversal on it. So let's get creative. Go all Bob Ross on some of these candles. Let's go here. We got the close here. We do have this little wick, so we actually have more of a high wave candle. But that does look good. We do also have some resistance in the way too. So we'd have to break out of that. I don't know if they have news. Let's check on that. 147.87 is a big resistance on it. And then you start running into some of those moving averages again. This Airbnb analyst turns bullish. So did they get an upgrade? Here are the top 5 upgrades. So Airbnb from neutral to outperform, raising price target from 160 to 165. That could give you some good room. Let's see which other ones. Autoliv, DuPont, Huntington Bank Shares Incorporated, and then Cisco Systems. I think Cisco Systems was the only other one I've heard of. The only one I've followed before. But Cindy says I moved Airbnb up to my watch list closely list on Thursday or Friday. Yeah, that was a great close. We are back above that 200, so we had that little trap in there. Um, I would think it's another contender for that slight little pullback at open and then look to go long. I don't want to be bearish on it. Might also be a decent swing trade too. Again, we just have to get through that little resistance. But if we could get through, if we can start getting closes above 147.87, we're right back in this gap with targets to about 157, 158. So it's got some room on it. I think probably if we end up closing below Friday's candle, that would be a pretty big warning sign that the bulls were not able to hold some of the support from the volume plus that 200. Then you start losing all the other volume, and then you start to give up back that green candle. So that green candle is probably where I throw my stop for any potential risk to reward on a swing at least. And then for a day trade basis, yeah, give me that a little bit of a sell off, a little bit of a pullback at open, and we'll go from there. But not bad. All right, we got CV. Is that RN? CVRN? It looks weird on my screen. It almost looks like CVM. I had to take a double take on that one. CVRN. Yep, so that's not it. Maybe it is. Why does it look so weird on like how it's written on my screen? I'm looking at the YouTube one that you put in. CVM. There is a CVM. Cellside Corporation. I'm not sure if this is the right one that you're putting into YouTube, but for some reason, like the letters look all connected. It kind of looks like it, but then it also looks like CVRN. So I'm not sure if this is it. If it's not, let me know and space out those letters because some reason my computer just blending it. But we got CVM. For day trade purpose, it is under $5. So I don't trade that one as a day trade. Momentum still looks like to the downside. We've got a little bit of support. If you're trying to play this one long, 122, it's kind of what you want to hold. So somewhere below Friday's low on this one. And then you got some resistance up to like 131, but the downtrend on this one, pretty massive. You do have a little bit of longer term support down here too, if you like it. But I would have to know, I don't know specifically what this company does. And right now it looks like a heavy downtrend. So I would need a little bit of consolidation, something like this to this effect. Give me like a few days or a few weeks of just sideways chop and then see if I can take the break. Otherwise, I feel like I'm catching a falling knife. Again, if that is the trade you're looking at, Texas Instruments. That is that is a heck of a run. Probably coming off of earnings. Yep. So nice gap up on earnings. Great gap. Good continuation after. It's got to be a lot of people profitable, I would assume, on this trade for right now in a bullish direction. Not too many bearers probably still in this thing. So, and then from Friday's candle, you got a little high wave. You also have a little bear trap on that too. after that run, that many days in a row, some of those bulls might be looking at it as a blessing. Just like, oh man, I could have sold a little higher. Why didn't I? And now they have the chance. But good bullish momentum. I probably wouldn't go long here. Fade might be the play if you have to, but otherwise, nice little gap. Is that all-time highs? Let's see what the weekly looks like. Yeah, the weekly looks like it's probably going to be a little bit of a retest as well. The weekly's got, I mean, this big, massive bullish engulfing candle with 1, 2, 3, 4 days to follow up. If you're looking for a decent buy spot, you're probably eyeing down 184.26 if we get there. If not, a little bit lower, somewhere around 178, 179. So we'll see Dell. Let's see if I get the Dell and Oxy. Dell on a weekly, yeah. So another gap up. Huge move. Couple weeks now in a row, probably a little far extended. Momentum is crazy. Don't really want to get in the way of a short, but I'd be looking to see if you could get some kind of a pullback to 165.06 is your best shot to kind of continue that long trend after a little bit of a pullback. So we'll see what happens on that one. But that's a heck of a move that it's had. Heck of a move in a bullish direction. I don't really want to fight the bulls. All right, we got Oxy, interesting, right at the 200. You do have a little bit of a gap and go. Depends on where this thing opens. The next target, I think you have at least room to 62, 67 today. But this is a definite zone that I'd like to hold. I actually kind of like that spot a lot. So first stop would take me to 62, 67. After that, I'm looking for 62, 98. And if we can start getting above this candle, which had a little bit of volume, nothing crazy. I got one more spot on this one to about 63.40. Anything after that, I think we start testing much higher into like the 65.18s and then back to like 68s. So it's got some room on it, but if you're bullish, that's the zone you want to see. Kind of hold. This looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good wave count. Maybe Friday was a consolidation day, very short consolidation. We get the move. Otherwise, we get another 1 or 2 days. I think that'd be great. Hover around at 200, build up some more momentum, and get the breakout on it would be fantastic. But unfortunately, I only have like, I don't know, 12 seconds left, 10 seconds left. That's wild. Everybody out there in YouTube land, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. Joe says Oxy on a swing. Yeah, I'd probably look for the swing over, but there could be some money in there today too. Trade. Otherwise, everybody on YouTube, I appreciate you joining us.